How's it going, everyone? This is Mark with AdTech. In this video, we're going to talk about a budget mini LED projector. This comes in at $90, has a ton of the same features as much more expensive models, and is actually surprisingly good. What does it give up? And should you get this? We'll take a look at in this video. So taking a look at the projector itself, it's very simple. It either comes in white or red, and there's not a lot to it. On the front, we've got our lamp as well as an IR sensor, which will work with the included remote. Speaking of the remote, it has tons of buttons, including fast forward, rewind, pause, play, and even number controls if your connected device works with that remote, but it also works fairly good for changing input, opening up the menus and navigating that, as well as changing the volume with the built-in speaker. On the left side of the projector, we got a exhaust vent, and that's pretty much it. On the back, we find another vent along with another IR sensor, so you can control the device with the remote on either the front or the back, which is good. An SD card slot for connecting media, a VGA port, as well as a power connector, and your Keystone adjustment lever. And on the other side, we get a intake, a speaker vent, USB port, headphone jack, HDMI port, and your AV port. With that AV port, you use one single cable, and that splits into 3 cables with the included adapter in the box. On the bottom, we find our rubber feet to mount it on your table. There's also a hole for the included screw, which you twist to increase its height or decrease its height. This is so you can offset it off of the table. Not the easiest way that I've seen on many other projectors, which are much simpler. There's also a tripod mount hole if you want to mount it on something, but it is a much smaller hole than standard tripod mounting systems, so you will need to make sure that the mount you have is going to be compatible. On the top, we got all of our buttons, including navigation, power, menu, select, back, source, all of that sort of stuff. There's also a light on the top, which will show you the status, whether it's on or off, and you also have your knob to adjust focus. The focus knob is probably one of my least favorite features about this projector. Many other projectors I've used and have seen have a textured focus wheel, so you actually have something to grip onto and turn it rather easily. This one's fairly stiff, very hard to turn. There's no markings anywhere, so you don't know which way you turn it for focusing close and focusing far. It's very hard to do, and my least favorite feature of it, but once you do actually get to turn, it works pretty good. Speaking of focusing and alignment, the Keystone is not the best on this projector. Like we already showed you, there's only one single lever on the back which will adjust the Keystone, and that only brings the top and bottom either forward and back, so you have a square image. I've used many other projectors that have automatic Keystone or even Keystones in 4 corners to adjust it to get perfectly square. You have a very limited range that this works in, and it's not that great. It's very hard to get precise, but it's there, so it does help a little bit with lining up your image. A couple specs for you about this projector. It is 1080p at 60 Hertz, which is good. It has 3200 lux, so it's fairly bright, although not the brightest I've seen in a projector. They claim up to 50,000 hours in the lamp life, and you can scale this up to 200 inches. Now that's pretty big, but also gets small, but not very small. Around 4 feet or so is the closest distance you can use this in. The menu system is fairly simple and basic, not a ton to it. You can change just simple things like your color profile, noise reduction, audio settings, aspect ratio, and that's about it. A lot of the stuff is already set up and not much you can change. Things like resolution and refresh rate are based on the settings that you have on the input device like your computer. Now it's nice that they do have a wide selection of options that you can use for ports. There are 4 options in the input, but you should probably be using HDMI at this point, and the reason why is because this has a built-in speaker. I have to say, I'm actually quite impressed with the speaker. It's very loud, and it does drown out the fan noise, and you can actually hear it over the fan noise, which is pretty impressive. It works over HDMI audio, or you can use your headphone jack if you want to output to another set of speakers. There is no audio in, so if you're using something like VGA, you're not going to be able to pipe audio into it, but you can do that through HDMI and the AV port. As expected with the projector, the audio quality isn't amazing. It sounds a little cheap and tinny, and probably one of the biggest downsides is that it clips fairly easily. Even at moderate volume, everything just sounds kind of garbled and a little bit of a mess. But if you do balance the audio and volume properly, it shouldn't sound too bad. This comes in under $40, works with both iOS and Android, tracks your activity, even lets you know about notifications from your phone. Currently, there are 4 color options you can choose from. Now he's talking about how it is able to overcome the fan noise, and that is a very good thing because this projector is extremely loud. I've only ever owned one projector before, but I've used many other ones in my time, and they're all much quieter than this one. As you can hear right here, I'm turning the projector all around so you can hear each of the sides, and it is quite loud. It's very noisy, and it does not slow down either. The fan is always at full speed, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is a fairly small package, so you have to expect not amazing cooling with this. But again, it's nice that the speaker is able to be louder than the fan. When it comes to image, it's pretty good. Focusing is a little bit hard because of that ring, but it works very nicely over HDMI. There's not a ton of things you can change, which isn't that great. Keystone isn't amazing either, but when it comes to image quality, it's decent. For the price, you get what you pay for, and I think if you're looking for a home theater setup, just getting started out, or just looking for a cheap projector, this is a pretty good option. If you have any questions or want to pick it up, you can see all that information down below. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like and hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. This is Mark with Tech, and I will see you in the next one.